What's up, guys? Flippin' Steve coming to you from the 302, and the 302. Have a few things I need to get done. Got to hit the PO. I actually have an eBay return, my first one ever. Some Crazy Daisy stickers. Some more Crazy Daisy stickers. 25 card order. There's also a topic I would like to touch on today. Where is Lake Beast? What are you doing out there? Are you causing trouble? Barking at everything. Get that protein shake going this morning. We got the ISO 100. Half of a banana. Cinnamon is one of the #1 keys for that metabolism boost. Hopefully we'll also have some incoming mail. Oh yeah, looking thick. Let's do a quick recap on the Crazy Daisy stickers. So far I have sold slightly over $350 worth of the stickers. My cost was $200, so you're already looking at $150 towards the winner. However, I have decided I'm not going to deduct my costs. I'm going to leave my $200 that I put forward in order to get the stickers and all the materials and things like that in the total profit, which means all $350 plus so far is going to the national giveaway. Guys, what are you waiting for? Get on there, make a $4 donation. You can do it on eBay, you can do it on Instagram, get yourself a sticker. It's a good cause, and we're already halfway through all of them. Once they're gone, they're gone. If nothing else, do it for the dingus. The main topics of today's video is just going to be me taking some stupid chances.
Dealer has run. Pay paper.
AKA gambling. Picked up a couple big cards that I hope will come in time for me to post in this video that may be snap candidates, which is going to be a huge gamble. I'm also going to dive into some numbers and see if it makes sense to prospect on another gutter QB. Who keeps putting Des Ridder cards in my mailbox? And I'm also going to look at some under the radar inserts. How many checklists actually have Chris Jones as a case hit? That I might want to put some money into that I think may have some upside. And if you're not interested in any of that and don't want to hang out with me and the crazy one, then there's a plethora of other content creators that you can go out there and watch. This package showed up while I was gone. This has a couple really nice cards in it. We might get into that this video. It actually has 2 of the slabs in it that I'm thinking about cracking that I talked about earlier when I was referring to gambling on some things. Oh, we also got some lunch from the PR place, the bakery. It looks like they threw in a free piece of cake. I didn't order that. You know, they like me down there. Side of pork. That's a big old pork chop.
Don't eat meat, but sure like the bone.
So as someone who has had a pretty lengthy career in the casino industry, I would like to talk about gambling in reference to the casino and also in gambling in reference to sports cards, because there's different types of gambling out there. And a lot of times we like to just say sports cards is gambling, which is true, but there's different forms of gambling in sports cards, just like there is in a casino. In a casino, we have what are called games of chance. Those would be games like your slot machines, your roulette wheel, and your craps table. These are called games of chance because you strictly put your money down, and then whatever happens is just left up to chance. The dice are going to do whatever they're going to do. The ball is going to spin and land where it's going to land. And a slot machine is going to spin, and whatever fruit and whatever number and whatever bars pop up, that's just the way that it is. You pull that handle and it's no looking back. Only decision that you make is to just put your money on the layout or into that machine. You're basically picking where you want to put your money and how much of it you want to put on the table or in said slot machine. And for me, I would like to relate that to opening wax or buying into breaks. Now, when you open wax, you're taking a gamble. However, you have an idea, you have an odds, you have a probability of what is going to be in your box or your case, whatever amount of cards that you're buying. It's going to be advertised. You're going to get so many hits per case, per box, etc., etc. However, when you buy into breaks, you apply it the same way, but you may not be guaranteed to get something because narrowing yourself down to maybe a team or two or a division, which then also limits your likeliness of getting a good card. I don't buy wax or participate in breaks, so that's really the extent of which I'm going to discuss that. However, also in the casino, there are games where you as a participant can make a calculated decision on what you want to do. You do have to decide how much money you want to play and what games you want to play, but there are games that allow you to make educated assumptions, if there is a such thing. Is there an educated assumption? An educated guess would be an assumption. But at some point throughout the game, you can make a decision, whether it's on your cards, whether it's on your hand, whatever it may be. For instance, if you're playing a 3-card or a 4-card poker game, you can make the decision based on the cards in your hand, whether or not you want to fold or compete against the dealer. And by looking at the strength of your hand, you're able to make a calculated decision. When you're playing blackjack, you get to look at your initial 2 cards on the table and you get to decide on whether or not you want to hit your hand to improve it or you want to wave it off, as they say, and not take an additional card. And then on the other hand, the dealer standing across from you also has to get a good enough hand to beat you. These are just a couple of examples of what I would like to say calculated decisions. And you may say the cards are going to fall the way that they fall, and that is correct. However, when you're playing blackjack, you have an idea of how many cards are in the shoe of which you are playing with. We also know that there are 52 cards in a poker deck. You then again can use those variables to make a calculated decision. Some casinos have implemented what is called a continuous shuffler, to where after each blackjack hand, the cards are then discarded back into the shuffler. It's one rolling motion of decks to where you could end up getting the exact same cards on your next hand that you had in the previous hand. That would then be limiting your calculated decision. You may be saying, Steve, what the hell? You're speaking a foreign language. How does this relate to buying sports cards? Let me get into that. One thing is when you're buying raw cards to grade, the calculated decision that you're making is that you're evaluating this raw card,
Tony Gonzalez Finest Gold Refractor,
and you're applying a numerical grade in your mind on what you think that card may grade out as with a professional grading company. You get to look at it, you get to examine it, and you get to make a decision on whether or not it's worth submitting. Now there's also buying slabs that you want to crack out.
Tom Brady here, a 2002 Topps Finest Refractor in a BGS 9, numbered out of 250. The first year of Tom Brady refractors.
And the same thing would apply. You're going to look at that card, you're going to evaluate it within the slab, and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make a calculated decision and resub this card to see if it gets a better grade. Now, there isn't normally a decision involved when you're buying established players.
The Mahoneberger Arcade Mode out of 25.
Because you already know the market that's going to be around this player, and you can kind of gauge a basement and a risk reward. However, the biggest gamble that you can make a calculated decision on is going to be prospecting and buying cards of players who aren't necessarily favorable in the market, but that you are hoping will gain some steam through success or hype in the future.
This is my second ultraviolet case hit of Bryce Young. I just sent one of these in my PSA order the other day.
People have asked, how do you know if a card is a case hit? Normally it's stated by the manufacturer on the checklist or in the advertisement, hey, these 3 or 4 types of inserts or parallels are going to be 1 per case. And then the thing you're actually going to have to be careful about are products that have tons and tons of cases printed, which then is going to limit a lot of the rarity of the case hits. And a lot of people have fallen blind to that and are still buying the case hits that were popular a couple years ago when there weren't as many of them being printed. That's an entire another video, off topic. So this is not the type of channel where I give people my picks or tell people who or what to buy. All I do is talk about what I do. And what I have here is a list of criteria that I'd like for a player to meet before I decide whether or not I want to gamble or take a risk on their cards. First and foremost, the most important thing is I have to ask Daisy what she thinks.
So who should we buy? Who should we buy, huh? It's time to gamble.
Once I get her answer, I'm going to look at price. It's always going to be very price point dependent because you want to buy cards that are super duper cheap because it doesn't take hardly anything to move the needle. They're going to be the biggest risk because they're cheap for a reason, but there will be reward in the slight chance or percent that something happens favorable for the player's market. Other things I like to look at, and they're in no particular order, is going to be age. If someone is really far along in their career and they're approaching 28, 30, 31 plus, as a quarterback, you pretty much know what that person has to offer. And even if they are given a chance, it's going to be in a limited role, and it's not going to be anything that's going to be sustainable for the most part. There are occasionally exceptions to the rule, but we even saw this with Geno Smith, who finally got a starting job with Seattle and really couldn't duplicate that one great year that he had with them in a follow-up season. Next is going to be situation. Was this person put in a situation to succeed? Were they with a bad team? Were they with a bad coach? Were they with bad personnel? Were they rushed? A lot of times young quarterbacks are rushed because there's such a need to win fast in the NFL nowadays that you don't really have time to develop properly. Another important factor I like to look at is draft capital. Typically, if a player has high draft capital, which means if they're drafted in the first 3 rounds of an NFL draft, that's usually someone that an NFL team is expecting to be a starter and be effective for their franchise. That's why you'll often see guys with high draft capital given multiple chances to succeed because they have either flash talent or were drafted early, and so they just tend to get more chances than others. A couple people I would like to mention would be Sam Darnold, who has kind of landed in a starting role, and if he wasn't an early pick in the 2018 draft, I doubt that he would still be given these opportunities. You also have Baker Mayfield, who had a really good rookie season, and then he floundered a little bit, but was still given chances because he had flashed, because he was the first pick of a draft in 2018, that teams were still willing to bet on him. And then last year he went out and proved to people that he could play and won himself a contract this year with the Bucs. The other thing is, was this quarterback ever a starter for a team? Whether they did good or did bad, were they ever given the chance to start from opening day? Because then that meant at one time a team believed in them to be a starter and thought that they could be a starter in the NFL. And for some reason it just didn't work out. Which means even if they're a backup now, they do have a chance to possibly succeed if they're thrust into a starting role. Everybody's going to have different criteria. That's things that I look at. Price, most important. The age, do they still have time to become something in the NFL? Their situation, is it good, bad? Is it dire? And their draft capital. Are teams willing to continue to give this person a chance because they were a high draft pick at one point? So if you're looking for some magical formula of successfully predicting prospects or buying low and selling high, there's just not one out there. You just have to come up with a list for yourself and trust your instincts and trust your gut and be lucky, and occasionally you'll hit a winner. And your risk to your reward factor has to be really big. Low risk, high reward to even make it worth that gamble. Now last year I sat here and I did the exact same thing, and I decided I was going to spend $1,000 on Sam Darnold. And it sort of worked out to where I broke even early. However, I didn't make my money until this year. So when you look at a 12-month turnaround, I ended up profiting about $700 on the Sam Darnold cards. I really had to be patient and I really had to hold, and that's not everybody's style. And this year I've decided to do the same thing because I want to have some fun. So I'm going to throw $800 at another quarterback and hope that I can just get lucky. And you want to ask yourself, what kind of prospector or what kind of gambler are you? Because there's many different kinds. They're the kind of gamblers who simply like to gamble for fun and gamble for entertainment. And if they win money, hey, it's just a bonus because they had a good time doing it. And if they lose, well, hey, they had a good time doing it as well. It's just like going to pay to see a movie or going out to dinner. However, everyone gets their fun or their adrenaline rush a different way. Then you have the type of gamblers that are strictly in it to win. And when they don't win, not only does it hurt them financially, but it also makes them miserable, makes them unhappy. And the only reason they keep gambling typically is because they're addicted to it. So ask yourself before you go out and prospect on your cards, what kind of prospector are you? Is this for fun? Is this for money? Is this for entertainment? And in a worst case scenario, how is this going to affect your life? Damn, I'm not really trying to sound harsh or sound grim or sound rough. I'm just really trying to sound real. For me, someone who does not flip cards for my livelihood, I do not depend on this to pay my bills, and I set aside separate funds from the hobby so that I can have fun, so that I can prospect, and so that I can risk without the worry of losing big. It's just me and where I'm at. You're going to have to ask yourself where you want to be at in the space and what you're comfortable doing. Don't listen to me or anybody else to tell you what to do. You do what's comfortable for you. Have fun doing it. And if you make money on top, it's just a bonus. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for joining us on this one. Make sure you get your Crazy Daisy stickers. And I'll see you in the next one.